She speaks softly, her voice low as the camera opens on a moonlit driveway. The air is still, tension almost tangible. I first met Mark Collins at a charity gala in Washington, D.C., his tailored tuxedo flawless, his smile warm but practiced. He stood among senators and celebrities, but his eyes found mine in a crowd. I was a reporter covering the event for a small magazine, chasing stories of glamour and power. He approached me with that disarming ease, introduced himself with confidence, offered me a drink, and we spent the evening drifting between politics and art. There was sincerity in his laugh. There was pain behind his eyes. Romance blossomed soon after. Dinners in candlelit rooms, whispered phone calls late into the night, his hand brushing mine as though craving connection. I believed we were two souls colliding. Behind the glittering facade, though, whispered rumors trailed him. A failed business in Ohio, missing funds, lawsuits quietly settled. I asked him once gently, "Mark, is there something you're hiding?" He laughed it off. "I've had some missteps." Who hasn't? That was enough for me at the time. But when he proposed, a delicate moment beneath the chandelier in our shared apartment, I felt something shift. He kissed me, promising transparency, promising love. His promise didn't last long. The night the kidnapper struck, I realized just how dangerous his world had become. The phone call came at 2 a.m. My heart slammed raw in my chest. "They have Claire." The voice was deep, metallic, emotionless. Claire was his sister, or someone he claimed as sister. They demanded a ransom, enormous, impossible. They gave Mark 3 days. The police had their own task force. The FBI got involved. And Mark vanished. I remember driving through the night, headlights cutting through fog, as I traced his phone, traced leads, begged him to answer.
He ignored me.
The FBI agents turned to me, curious, kind, suspicious. They asked me what I knew. I said everything, except one secret, because I feared him. Then, on the third night, he called me. His voice trembled. Something's gone wrong. But something was right. To practice. I found Claire's body in an abandoned warehouse at dawn. The FBI secured the scene, flashing lights carving shadows across walls. Her eyes seemed to stare at me with accusation. I fell to my knees. The air strangled me with guilt and horror. Mark arrived behind me, calm, too calm. He wrapped his arms around me. "I'm sorry," he whispered. The agents watched with suspicion. The romance I believed in cracked. Mystery deepened. Crime had exploded in the quiet of our world. Later that week, in his study, I confronted him. The room was draped in darkness, only his desk lamp casting an amber glow. I held a photograph of him with Claire, both smiling. "Tell me the truth," I said, voice shaking. He stared at me. Silence stretched. Then he spoke. "Claire was involved in something dangerous. She threatened me. I made deals to protect you." He sounded so certain, so controlling. A twist of fear flooded me, but a letter arrived, delivered anonymously to the FBI and to me. It contained bank statements, wire transfers, payments to shell companies in Panama, money trail leading to Mark. The FBI watched him carefully now. In a clandestine hearing, they asked Mark to account for millions he claimed to earn legitimately. He testified, appearing vulnerable and candid. In the courtroom gallery, I watched, heart in my throat, as he addressed the agents directly. "I have nothing to hide." Yet the letter's accusations were damning. Money laundering, identity fraud, complicity in Claire's death. The rise and crumbling of his empire played across news channels. The public's trust fractured. Romance evaporated, replaced by suspicion and dread. Mark's defense, a paranoid sister, twisted in debt, who turned on him. The FBI was skeptical but cautious. They needed proof. And then, the twist I never saw coming. One evening, trailing him secretly, I watched him meet someone in a dark alley behind a warehouse near the river. They exchanged a package, small, dense. I snapped photos. My heart pounded so loud I feared detection. The man left. Mark remained, slipping the package into his coat.
He turned and saw me.
Our eyes locked. He smirked as I ran. He followed. Rain began to fall, cloaking my escape. Over my shoulder, I heard him whisper, "You'll thank me one day." In that moment, I realized he fooled everyone, the FBI, me, everyone, into believing he was a victim. But he was the mastermind. That night I sat in my apartment, the images on my laptop, the damning documents in my hands. The phone rang. Mark's number. I didn't answer. Minutes later, a silhouette appeared outside my window. I froze. A voice hissed, "I trusted you." I called the FBI. I handed over everything I had: photos, bank records, recordings I made during our dinner conversations. They interrupted their own investigation and deployed agents to my location. He arrived moments before the agents burst in. He looked at me, eyes glittering with betrayal and something colder. The agents cuffed him. He didn't resist, but his lips twisted as though whispering, "You lost." In the police van, I watched his face disappear through the tinted glass. A darkness I once loved now became his prison. Afterward, I sat alone. The romance was gone. Mystery gave way to truth. Crime and deception swallowed us both. Did I turn the camera toward you, the audience? How well do you really know the ones you love? This is the story of a husband who fooled everyone, even the FBI. The storm had passed, but silence can be louder than thunder. Mark Collins was gone, locked behind steel bars, awaiting trial for fraud, obstruction, and conspiracy to commit murder. The FBI called him a master manipulator, but to me, he was something else. A ghost that refused to die. In the months after his arrest, I tried to rebuild my life. The reporters wouldn't stop calling, wanting the wife who helped catch him on camera. They didn't know the truth, that I was never his wife. We'd never filed the papers. He made me believe we had. I kept my head down, avoided cameras, tried to sleep. But every night, I'd wake to that same dream, his voice whispering from the dark, "You'll thank me one day." Then one morning, an envelope appeared under my door.
No stamp.
No address. Just my name, written in his perfect handwriting. Inside, a photo. Grainy, black and white. A man in a trench coat, walking into an underground parking garage. The note read, "You were right about everything except the ending." I froze. My breath hitched. That parking garage, I knew it. It was the same one beneath the FBI's Washington field office. How could Mark have sent this from prison? I drove straight there. The agents met me outside, skeptical but alert. Agent Monroe, tall and severe, led me through the corridors. "You understand, ma'am," she said, "Collins has no access to the outside world. But this," I held up the photo, "is his handwriting. His mark." She studied it, jaw tight. "We'll check it." But that night, as I sat alone, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "If you go digging again, you'll find more than you can handle." I wanted to believe it was some sick prank, but something deep in my gut whispered, "He's not finished." Days later, Agent Monroe called. "We've got something," she said. "You might want to see this." At the Federal Detention Center, I stared through the glass at the empty chair on the other side of the partition. "He's gone," Monroe said. "What do you mean gone?" I whispered. She looked me dead in the eye. "Collins escaped 2 nights ago, replaced by a decoy, a body double. We didn't even catch it until this morning." My world stopped. "He planned this from the start," she continued. "The timing, the trial delays, the fake plea deals, all of it. He played us. All of us." I walked out of that room numb. The sky outside was dark, rain beginning to fall again. I could feel him out there somewhere, watching. That night, I checked the locks twice. Then, at 2:14 a.m., my phone rang again. A private number. I answered. His voice came through, calm, cold, almost tender. "Don't be afraid. Claire didn't die for nothing." My hand trembled. "Mark," he chuckled. "They think I killed her. But you know the truth, don't you?" "Stop it," I shouted. "You're sick." "Maybe," he said softly. "But you were the only one who ever understood me." Then the line went dead. I collapsed to the floor, heart hammering, knowing what I had to do, follow his trail. The next day, I traced the envelope's origin, a private courier company in Richmond, Virginia. A fake name, a cash payment, and a camera at the counter that captured the sender's silhouette. It wasn't Mark, it was Meade, or someone who looked exactly like me. When I showed the footage to Agent Monroe, she stared at me as if I'd lost my mind. "This has to be doctored," she muttered. "It's impossible." But I could see it. Same hair, same coat, same scar on the wrist from years ago. My double. Mark hadn't just escaped. He'd built a maze. And somehow, he'd placed me right in the center of it. The narrator's tone drops, slow, controlled. There are moments in life when truth unravels so quietly, you barely notice it until it's gone. I had spent years uncovering stories about America's darkest secrets, corruption, murder, deceit. But nothing prepared me for this. Being the story myself, Mark Collins fooled the world once. But now he was rewriting reality, one twisted message at a time. As the camera fades to black, I whisper, "This isn't over. Not yet." To be continued, The Husband Who Fooled Everyone, Part 3. You ever feel like you're being watched, not by a person, but by your own reflection? That's how it started. After the footage from Richmond surfaced, the woman who looked like me mailing that envelope, I stopped trusting mirrors. Every time I passed one, I hesitated. Sometimes, I swore I saw her move a heartbeat before I did. Agent Monroe tried to ground me in reality. "You're under stress," she said. "Grief, trauma, exhaustion, your mind's playing tricks." But I wasn't imagining it. Because one night, someone broke into my apartment. Nothing was taken. Nothing was touched, except for the bathroom mirror. A single message was written across it, traced in red lipstick. "You don't know who you are." The handwriting was mine. The next morning, I went to the FBI's field office again. Monroe met me in a quiet conference room. Fluorescent light buzzed overhead. She slid a folder across the table. "We think we know how Mark escaped," she said. Inside were photographs, a woman visiting him at the detention center under the guise of a legal aid. Blonde hair, slim frame, wearing glasses. But when I leaned closer, my stomach turned. She looked like me. Monroe watched my reaction carefully. She used forged credentials. The guards didn't suspect a thing. We traced her prints, but they came back with multiple identities, each linked to one person, Mark Collins. I felt my voice crack. He made her to look like me? Monroe nodded. Or he found someone who already did. Either way, she's gone now. No digital trace. The walls seemed to close in around me. My memories, my sense of self, all of it felt infected by his manipulation. That night, I drove out to the old Collins estate in Maryland, his childhood home, now abandoned. Moonlight glowed on cracked windows and ivy-choked gates. I stepped inside with a flashlight, the air thick with dust, and silenced. On the dining table sat a photo album. Inside, images of Mark as a boy, a woman I recognized as his mother, and then me, or the woman who looked like me, standing beside him, smiling. Decades before I was even born. The voice grows more deliberate, like a heartbeat echoing under the narration. I heard a noise. Footsteps upstairs. I turned off the light and waited. My breath barely moved. Then, from the top of the stairs, a woman's voice called down. "Don't be afraid." I looked up and froze. She stood there. Same hair, same face, same trembling hands. She smiled faintly. "He said you'd come." My flashlight flickered as she descended the stairs, each step creaking like a warning. "Who are you?" I whispered. She tilted her head. "The one he couldn't control." Before I could move, she pressed something into my palm, a small flash drive. "Find the file marked Raven Project. It's what started everything." Then she backed away, vanishing through the side door before I could follow. I drove straight home, my hands shaking so violently I could barely insert the drive into my laptop. The screen came alive with encrypted folders, one labeled exactly as she said, Raven Project. Inside, government documents, sealed case files, photographs of psychological experiments tied to witness protection programs. All connected to one man. Mark Collins. He hadn't just been a con artist. He was a test subject, part of a classified behavioral study that turned criminals into assets. The FBI never knew. The Bureau thought they'd been chasing a fraudster. But Mark was working for someone else. Someone higher. The flash drive ended with a single video clip. Static filled the screen, then a voice emerged, his voice. "Hello, my love," he said. His face appeared, older now, ice cold. "You've done well finding this. But you've been part of the experiment since the beginning. You just don't remember." The screen went black. I sat frozen, the hum of my laptop the only sound in the room. Somewhere outside, I heard the faint click of a camera shutter, and then his voice again, whispering through my phone speaker. "Look behind you." The screen fades to black. Voiceover, trembling but calm. "They say every great lie begins with truth. But what if your whole life is the lie, and the truth is the thing that kills you?" This was never about love. It was about control. Toby continued. The husband who fooled everyone. Part 4. There are moments when truth doesn't set you free. It cages you. When I found the Raven Project files, I thought I'd uncovered Mark's secret. But what I really did was open a door that someone powerful had spent decades keeping closed. The files were stamped with 3 letters that made my stomach drop. DOJ. The Department of Justice. The project was real, an off-the-books psychological program meant to rehabilitate high-intelligence offenders by using them as informants. They'd be given new identities, new lives, new spouses if necessary. The perfect camouflage. My name appeared halfway down a report. Subject liaison, code R12. The date next to it was 3 years before I ever met Mark Collins. I wasn't his wife, I was his handler, and I had no memory of it. The next day, I met with Agent Monroe in a coffee shop far from the city. She looked tired, older somehow, like the truth had been dragging her down too. "Where did you get this?" she asked, tapping the flash drive. "From someone who looks exactly like me," I said. She paused, searching my eyes. "Then she's the one they erased." Erased? Monroe leaned in, voice low. The Raven Project used neural conditioning to rewrite memories, wipe out a handler's past if the subject went rogue. You were part of the program, and when Collins disappeared the first time, they cleaned your file. They left you thinking you were just another reporter who fell in love with a charming man. I felt the world tilt around me. "You're saying my life was engineered?" Monroe's silence was my answer. That night, I returned home to find my front door cracked open. I stepped inside carefully, heart racing. Everything was untouched, except the living room wall. A projector had been set up, already running. On screen, footage flickered, surveillance videos of me from years past. Airports. Restaurants. My apartment. Always the same distance, the same angle. Watching. Recording. Then, the voice came again, his voice smooth, familiar. "Now you understand, don't you? You were never my victim. You were my partner. The FBI never fooled me, you did." The footage shifted. I saw myself, but not me, sitting across from Mark in an interrogation room. My hair shorter, my tone cold, professional. "Tell me, Mr. Collins," I said on the video. "Do you believe in redemption?" He smiled on camera. "Only if it's mutual." The recording ended. I drove through the night to find Monroe, the flash drive clenched in my fist. But before I reached the city, headlights flared in my rear-view mirror. Too close. The car behind me didn't back off. I turned off the highway, gravel spitting under my tires, heart pounding. The other car followed. I stopped in an abandoned gas station lot and stepped out, rain slicking my face. "Show yourself," I shouted. The door opened, and she stepped out. My double. The woman from the house. "You shouldn't have kept digging," she said. "They'll kill us both." "Who are they?" I demanded. She hesitated, then whispered. "You already know." Before I could speak, she pressed a keycard into my hand. A government clearance badge. My photo. My name. Agent L. Porter. Behavioral Intelligence Division. Then she was gone again, swallowed by the rain and darkness. Voice softens, slow, cinematic. By dawn, I knew I couldn't go back. If the FBI was part of this, I couldn't trust anyone. Not even Monroe. Somewhere out there, Mark was watching. Somewhere out there, I was part of something far more dangerous than love or crime. Something designed to manipulate memory, identity, and truth itself that I turned on my recorder, the same one I used for every story I'd ever told. My voice sounded foreign now, detached. My name, I said quietly, is Agent L. Porter. And I think I used to be someone else. The tape clicks off. The screen fades to black. Whispered line before silence, he fooled everyone, including me. T.O. be continued. The husband who fooled everyone. Part 5. By the time the sun rose over D.C., I was no longer a journalist or a wife. I was a ghost in my own story. The badge the woman gave me, Agent L. Porter, wasn't a fake. I confirmed that much before dawn. I used an old FBI terminal in a library basement, a machine that hadn't been updated since 2006. When I entered the ID number from the badge, the system unlocked without hesitation. MY picture filled the screen. MY title read, Behavioral Intelligence Division, Project Raven Liaison, and below that, status, deceased. I felt the floor tilt under me. I reached out to the only person who might still tell me the truth, Agent Monroe. We met in the parking deck beneath Union Station. She looked around, nervously before speaking. They told me you were dead, Elle, she said. The official report said you were caught in a car fire outside Quantico 3 years ago. I swallowed hard. Then who've I been since? She shook her head. You were reinserted. A deep cover rebuild. They needed you to believe you were someone else, someone harmless, until Collins resurfaced. My voice trembled. And Mark? He was their prototype. He was supposed to be controllable. She handed me a thin envelope. There's a bunker in West Virginia. The people who ran Raven are there. They never stopped the experiments. When she turned to leave, I caught the flash of a laser crossing her coat. Monroe. The gunshot echoed through the concrete. She collapsed before I could reach her. The sound fades. The narrator's voice becomes low, urgent. I didn't wait for backup. I drove all night through back roads and fog until the GPS went silent. The bunker was buried beneath a rusted radio tower. A keypad blinked red beside the steel door. I used the keycard from my twin. The light turned green inside. The air was cold and stale. Rows of filing cabinets, humming servers, and stacks of monitors showing surveillance feeds, city streets, airports, prisons, and one feed showing me. Sitting in my car. Live, a voice came from the intercom. I told you, Leah. You'd thank me. Mark's voice. He stepped out from the shadows, dressed in black tactical gear, calm as ever. You were meant to find this, he said. It's your inheritance. I raised my flashlight, trembling. You kill Monroe. I didn't have to, he said. They would have. I saved her from what's coming. I took a step closer. What is this place? He smiled faintly. The truth. Raven wasn't about rehabilitation. It was about replacement. They used us to test identity transfer, taking a mind apart and stitching it into another life. You were the first success. You just forgot. I shook my head. You're lying. He pressed a button on the control panel. A screen lit up with medical footage, electrodes, brain scans, my own voice screaming from a hospital bed, and then a final line of code appeared. Subject R12/merge successful. Narrator, quiet, hollow. I wanted to run, but part of me already knew he wasn't lying. Fragments began flooding back. Sterile rooms, whispered instructions, a promise that I'd become who I needed to be. Mark stepped closer. They'll erase you again if you leave. But if you stay, we can expose them. Why me? I asked. Because you're the only one who ever beat me, he said. And they built you too. For a long moment, neither of us moved. The monitors hummed like a heartbeat. Then the alarm blared. Red lights strobed through the bunker. Someone else was coming. Mark tossed me a drive identical to the first. Run, he said. Find the archive labeled Aegis. That's where the real names are. Before I could answer, he disappeared into the maze of corridors that I ran. Through the flashing lights, through the cold metal halls, until the exit door gave way to night. Soft piano under the closing voiceover. They say America's darkest secrets aren't buried. They're recorded, classified, and rewritten until even the witnesses forget. I was one of those witnesses. Now I'm something else, If the Raven Project was about rewriting identity, then maybe the only way to end it is to erase myself one last time. Whispered, he fooled everyone. But maybe this time, I can fool him. When you've run long enough, the world stops feeling real. Road signs blur, memories collapse, and the only thing left is the sound of your own breath. That's where I was when I found the Aegis archive. IT wasn't hidden in some military compound or underground vault. IT was sitting behind a boarded-up post office in rural Pennsylvania. One of those places where the flag still faded from 9/11 and the only light after dark comes from a vending machine. Inside, dust swirled in the beam of my flashlight. A single server rack hummed in the corner, hooked to a satellite dish through a hole in the wall. The same symbol from the Raven files, an obsidian raven ringed in white, was stenciled on the metal door. I plugged the drive Mark gave me into the terminal. The screen blinked alive, line by line, revealing lists of names, dates, erased identities. Not just ours, hundreds, agents, witnesses, even politicians, people rebuilt, reassigned, forgotten. And at the top of the file tree, Aegis Protocol, termination order. There were 2 subjects scheduled for deletion, R12L, Porter, R01M, Collins. They were cleaning house. Low thrum of thunder. Her voice tightens. The door behind me creaked. Always ahead of the clock, Mark said, stepping out of the shadows. Rainwater dripped from his coat. You never disappoint. I turned. So it ends here? He smiled faintly. It never ends. They'll just start another version of us. I showed him the screen. We can end it. Expose everything. He shook his head. You think truth saves anyone? You taught me better than that. He moved closer, lowering his voice. They're listening right now. You have 2 choices. Upload it and die with me, or walk away and forget again. They'll make you someone new, someone safe. For a heartbeat, I believed him. The man I'd loved beneath all the lies. But then I saw it. The remote detonator in his hand, the red light blinking in rhythm with my pulse. Mark, I whispered. What did you do? It's the only way to erase them, he said. And us. Sound of rain intensifies. Distant sirens. I lunged for the console, typing the upload command as he raised the detonator. The progress bar crawled, 40%, 60%, 90%. Don't, he shouted. They'll use your voice, your face, everything we were. Then at least they'll know it was real. I said. He looked at me one last time, and in his eyes I saw everything. The charm, the lies, the strange kind of love that never stopped being dangerous. He lowered the remote just as the upload hit 100%. For a second, silence. Then the servers began to spark, the room filling with white light. Run, he said quietly. I did. A rush of static, then quiet again. By dawn, the archive was gone, burned to its foundations. News channels reported a communications fire, nothing more. But an anonymous leak of classified documents began spreading online that same morning. The Raven Project, Aegis Protocol, everything. They tried to discredit it. They always do. But the names were there. The faces. The proof. Today, S for Mark. The FBI found no remains. Some said he died in the explosion. Others whispered he was seen boarding a private jet in Iceland under another name. And me? I disappeared again. New city, new passport, new voice. But some nights, I still hear the recording he left behind. Love is just the cleanest kind of control, he says. You taught me that. Soft piano returns. I walk along the harbor now, far from DC, camera rolling, voice steady. This is Dark Secrets America. I say into the lens. Tonight's story is about a man who fooled everyone, even the woman built to stop him. I smile faintly. Maybe he's still out there. Maybe we both are. The camera lingers on the water until it turns black. Whispered, closing line, the truth survived. And that's enough.